In a slightly less famous speech, Dr. King visited Penn State back in 1965, focusing on African-American voting rights. For a current perspective on Dr. King's impact at Penn State, I had the chance this afternoon to talk with women's basketball coach Coquese Washington. Coach, you're part of a generation that was actually born after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So how do you ensure in the players that you coach and lead that his legacy lives on?
Well, we talk about it. We talk about what his legacy means, and we talk about the opportunities that my generation and their generation is enjoying because of the sacrifice and the work that so many people in the past put in.
You're one of just two African-American head coaches across both Big Ten men's and women's basketball. Your thoughts on the somewhat disproportionate ratio between coaches and the ratio of black to white players on the court, and whether you feel like progress is being made in that area?
I feel like progress is being made across the board and moving forward. Where we need to see a lot more growth is in African-American representation and minority representation in the ranks of administration. When you have more representation in decision-making positions in the administration, then I think you will start to see a little bit more diversity in hiring, diversity in hiring committees, and diversity in coaches being named to positions of importance in collegiate sports.
Coach, how much of an added responsibility do you feel as one of the few African-American head coaches in major college basketball to make sure that the women, the young women who you are molding, understand what can be achieved?
I see my responsibility as being one who has to be successful and to be an example by my success, to be an example by my leadership position here at Penn State, to show the way. So, you know, taking that role, I take it very seriously. But as Coach Strong recently said when he was hired at Texas, is you have to be successful. Nobody wants to listen to you if you can't accomplish things. So our example has to be one of success. Our example has to be one of integrity. Our example has to be one of empowerment. And as long as we can live those ideals out on a daily and weekly basis, then that's the most important thing.
Coquese, do you feel like we're getting closer to that point where coaches are being judged much more based on their resume than their race?
Absolutely. I definitely feel that we're being judged more on our success, and that's all we want to be judged on, is being judged in the same way as, you know, our counterparts are, by our wins and losses. And that success also has to be by given the same opportunities and given the same resources and given the same chance to be successful when you're hired as a head coach as our counterparts are. And if you're given the same opportunities and the same chance to be successful, then if the playing field is relatively equal, then let's be judged on our performance.
Coach, what will you tell your players today, or what have you already told your players today about what they should be thinking about on this particular day?
Well, you know, they are very well versed. Our team is pretty well versed on the legacy of Dr. King. You know, we've had some events over the past week here at Penn State that many of our players have attended. So I think our players are pretty well versed on the legacy of Dr. King. But one of the things we talk about is how we treat each other. And that was one of the messages that Dr. King espoused so eloquently, is treating people based on who they are, based on their character, and on less superficial things such as their race. And that's what we spend a lot of time with our players in our program, talking about how we treat each other, how we impact each other, and our daily experiences matter.
Coquese Washington, head coach of the Penn State women's basketball program. Coach, thanks so much for the time today. Really appreciate you sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.